here with Jeff Nelson, CEO of Adapt Training. Jeff, give us a background of how you got involved with Adapt and your role with the company today.
Yeah. Thanks, Drew. So I have been involved with Adapt since 2006, but actually as a client first. So it's kind of like the old hair club for men commercials, right? I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. But my background, my degree is in business. I spent 15 years in the electronics manufacturing services industry, so doing marketing, sales, business development, global account management for a couple of years. Ran a prototype business, and we were literally just down the street from Adapt here.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'd played college soccer as a goalkeeper, played a couple of years professional, had moved a bit in that job, um, and then came back here locally. That was actually out of my global job. I had three young kids at the time, all under the age of 5. In fact, that was when I was in my global job and actually signed for our mortgage on the house we were in, or not the mortgage, but to buy the house when I was in Japan on one of
Oh,
the,
wow.
like I was signing the thing. So, I was like, man, it's really hard to be a dad and I think 2000, oh shoot, now I don't remember, whatever it was, 2005, maybe I had 47 trips to the airport. So I was like, man, it's hard to be a dad if you're not there.
Yeah.
I went to this local, smaller regional company with an old friend I used to work with. DAP was just down the road. We started coming and Trenny's an athlete. I was like, man, I wish I knew this back was not, I was an athlete. My knee had been hurting. I think it was like a month of just doing classes too, which is one of the things we do here. And my knee stopped hurting. I was like, this is crazy, man. What is this place? So fast forward a bit, I did that for a little bit. Had some personal things come up, decided to move to Kauai, which is where my wife at the time was from. And
Yeah.
so, I was actually here. We took noon class here with my boss, and there was a couple of us that came. And he's like, "Why not this? You love this stuff." And I think I was 35 at the time. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's brilliant, man. Go from, 6 figures in this professional
That's
work to being a
crazy.
personal trainer. And I don't know,
Yeah.
like owing money the first year, which funny enough was my first year was of my taxes. But, then you think about it, right, Drew? I think when you're in something so long, you have, um, capital in that career, right? Like you've invested 15 years, people, you have opportunities, you have, it's just what you know. So to make that move wasn't something I would have just chosen if what I went through didn't come up, right? So it's like, you know what? Well, what am I really passionate about? What has God called me to? What do I enjoy doing? And I realized I love helping people. I love the physical side of it. I love how my body felt after doing Adapt. So yeah, I met with Brian Cassidy, who's the owner, and he's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I think you got this all wrong. Like most trainers are 20, 20 something and they want to live in their sweats and work out all day. Like you've been in your client's shoes, you got 3 kids, you've had a job with travel and all these other things. I think you're looking at this wrong. And so that was kind of the launch of my journey with Adapt. And I went through our certification,
Yeah.
moved to Kauai, worked a box gym or a club over there for about 5 years, and then moved back in 2019 to kind of take over the business side of Adapt. So to blend my old corporate world with
Yeah.
I'm passionate about here of helping people with what we do. So there's my my story, if you will.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And when you're in Kauai at the box gym, were you doing Adapt protocol or what was the deal with that there?
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun because I got to bring this different approach to training into Kauai. In fact, I
Yeah.
trained the first the lead trainer, which is a cool side story. Toby, um, her daughter was my first client. She was a collegiate volleyball player, getting ready. I can't remember. I think she was getting ready to go play college volleyball.
Yeah.
And like any of us with kids, like you could be, Michael Jordan, and your kid wouldn't think you could teach him how to play basketball. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I got to train Tori, and that kind of sparked this whole thing. I was coaching, helped just through some really cool people and some very um, generous. I think the mindset over there, once you show you're willing to engage, they're gonna love you and give you aloha. And I came in and helped coach the boys soccer at the high school, and that just
Nice.
kind of opened all these doors. So it was really fun for me to see. I was able to work with young athletes, which I loved, and then seeing older clients, what we call now our ageless athletes, right? Where they can't get their arms back in a wall glide, and when they can, just life
Yeah.
changes it. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
But Toby, who was that first one, actually, when I moved back, actually bought the studio from me because she was one of my trainers in the studio for the 5 years I owned it, and then sold it to her. Unfortunately, that was right before COVID. So
Oh, wow. Wow. So yeah, so now your life's a lot different, not being on the gym floor. Is it
yeah.
what was the transition? Were you doing half and half a lot where you were still running sessions and doing more of the executive work, or was it like a full switch transition?
Yeah, when I moved back here, it was full switch. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think anybody that's been a trainer uh and knows it's a pretty demanding. I think if you're good, and most of us that are in this get in it because we genuinely care about people, and you
100%.
know, we have high empathy. We So you invest yourself in people, and it's draining, right? I mean, I still had young kids. I got remarried, had a, you know, a baby right before we moved. You know
Yeah,
that.
30. I mean, I'm
You,
35 now, and I'm
you know
thinking,
exactly
man,
what I'm
like
talking
this
about,
guy,
right?
you were brave and had some vision. Cause
Yeah.
like, yeah, that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
so the way I viewed it was, you know, because of my background, I was able to bring this um this perspective of how to grow and scale, and having been fortunately involved in some really good large companies. I mean, good in different ways, and
Mhm.
also some small companies that had a lot of heart and grit and fortitude and all the things that I think get companies to get past that first 5 years. So for me, I viewed it as I can take that skill set, and if I can build a team and help adapt, continue to build on the amazing stuff they built, and how do we scale and impact the world with what we do from a training system standpoint, that was a better use of me versus if I'm on the floor with one person, that's one life. But if we can
Yeah.
scale and have not just our, you know, 15 employees in the building, but also as we certify other trainers and we work with teams and we train coaches, and, you know, it's just, hey, we have an ability to really impact the world by, especially for my role, to be able to elevate, resource, and equip people to go and do this awesome work that Brian really has just set a standard for. So it's a really cool, I mean, it's a privilege, and honestly, it's a pretty big responsibility because, you know, you don't just, you know, hey, I built this thing for 25 years. You know, it's a pretty big show of faith on his part to say, hey, I want you to help me figure out how do we take this to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've experienced it all from all levels, so that's cool to bring that. So
Yeah.
I know you shared you all work with like even today youth athletes or ageless athletes. And you also do therapy, right? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really good point. So adapt, kind of the core of what we do is really help people restore or refine integrity of movement. So the way we look at the human body is, do you have integrity of movement? So when you present pain, acute pain, chronic pain, you get injuries, we work with industrial athletics as well. So you have somebody who's has these chronic things happening, and they get injured. Well, there's a vulnerability that exists before that injury happens. That vulnerability comes from
Mm,
like the lack of integrity in movement. So the way we view the human body is, how do we get you to do the things you want to do, right? So we'd start with, all right, Drew, what's your physical activity? Go, oh, I want to do the rim to rim. Just for those of you that don't know, Drew's down in Arizona, right? I don't know if you
yep.
want to do that. Probably not in June or July. I don't know. But
It'd
right,
be
that's a
cool
big
up there.
goal. So once we know that's what your goal is for your body, then we work backwards. So all this is a long answer to say,
Yeah.
therapy for us, we even call it performance therapy. It is a physical therapist, but our approach is very different. It's movement based, not treatment based. We're going to treat the person, not the symptom or the injury. So we are out in network for that reason, because for us to really do the work we want to do, we have to be able to dictate the plan and not be dictated by external forces. But then that
Yeah.
continuum, if you will, right? We call it the adapt way, is no matter where you start, we have this continuum from whether it's acute pain. We also work with people with spinal cord injuries and neuro conditions, which is really cool. In our advanced business, we've got people to walk again. Um, but all the way from that through training to the elite athletics side and everybody in between. But it's the same training philosophy that guides all of it. It's not disconnected. So as you start getting that foundation back in the therapy side, now we just naturally transition you into more training, and then you
Mhm.
start building on that, because it's always with a goal in mind of, it's not a 4-week program. It's a, let's get Drew's life back. And our tagline really is, we help clients unlock physical freedom to live their
Yeah.
ideal active life, right? So to us, that's this guiding thing. And I think a great example to what you said is, I know you've got kids, and I know your story too a little bit, but right, like if you're working with a high school junior, or let's say a sophomore, we're helping them. Their big goal is, I want to get to varsity, and then I want to get a college scholarship. Well, my mom, who lives down in Arizona, when she flies up here, one of her goals might be, hey, I want to be able to lift that suitcase up overhead and put it in the overhead bin by myself. I mean, that's a big goal, right? So we work with a huge U.S. wheelchair rugby team, which is really cool. One of the one of
Wow,
the
that is
one of the
cool.
people who came back with silver for U.S. basketball in the wheelchair games. So it's just a really neat swath of clients that we get to work with, and all the stories of transformation throughout. So long-winded answer, but yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I've seen some of the wonderful adaptive work you all do too. So I appreciate you sharing that. So for someone, I mean, I'd love for you to share both, like someone that is a general, active aging athlete that wants
Yeah.
to maybe not hike rim to rim, but hike for at least an hour without back pain.
Yep.
Also someone that's maybe got an injury like debilitating knee pain or had like a bad hip replacement that isn't, they're not doing well now. Like what's their experience when they first get involved with you all?
That's a great question. Yeah. In fact, we're just starting Monday our Adapt to Hike program, which is built for,
Oh.
we've had, well, one of our great stories. If you go to our website, David Tabachnik, his testimonial is amazing. I think he'd seen like 20 some PTs. I don't know how many surgeries at this point. And he was like in his early 20s. There was no reason he should have done it. So now he was in the Himalayas. I mean, it's just crazy the things he's now doing with his body. But at that point, right, you go back to Adapt to Hike is, hey man, you want to get out. It's June when we're almost June as we're shooting this.
Mm-hmm.
The weather in the Pacific Northwest is finally nice again, but we got people, you want to get out and be active. But like you said, my back hurts after, every time I go hiking, and then it's recovering and taking Advil and not being able to walk for the next couple of days. Or man, I would love to hike, but my knees hurt every step I take. So
Mm-hmm.
depending on where you're at, right, we always have a consult. So if you come in, and this is very different for the physical therapy side of what we do, is we do a free evaluation, which is
Oh,
not
well.
normal course, because we want
Mm-hmm.
to, it's what we do is different. So we want to educate you on, even if it's nothing else than, Drew, I'm going to give you a different way to view what's happening in your body that you probably haven't heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll come in, we'll take you through, our PT will take you through that evaluation process. You'll actually spend some time with our director of therapy on the phone first. So we want to make sure, hey, can we help you? What have you tried before? What's going on? And get a
Mm-hmm.
little more information. And then you'll fill out obviously the normal forms, come in, meet with Mary. She'll take you through this program. And at the end of that evaluation, then you have an opportunity like, hey, here's the plan I want to take you on. Do you want to join us on this plan? So it's a
Mm-hmm.
really cool way we want to kind of show you what we can do before you commit money to doing it. Obviously, people are committing their time. It's scary
Right.
for people. This is different. We're usually not people's first stop unless our clients that come out of training know us well, and something happens outside the gym. They might come in and do therapy or motor vehicle accident, something like that. But somebody coming in from the outside, this is different. And like I said, we're like this, usually the second or third place because, right, oh, you're out of network. And it's like, well, you've been out of network for how many sessions did you go? How much were you paying? And are you any better? Or are you still feeling that? So
That's
that's
the
how
key.
we would start on the therapy side. For general fitness, let's say maybe you respond to a social media post or the emails we send, and maybe you've been on the email, this for like 5 years, and somebody finally raises their hand, right? They're like, man, I've been whatever we said in that one, you were speaking to me, so I
Yeah.
want to come in. And we know too, that's a big decision. That's a big moment of putting yourself first, which we want to honor. So people come in we call it a game planning session. A GPS, right? It's like, funny enough, I have a map over here, but if you're going to go somewhere, you probably want to plug in the GPS anymore. I mean, maybe we used to know how to get places without it, but so you come in, you spend time with our director of training. She's going to take you through what we call the Adapt vulnerability test, because we want to see, hey, how's your body working now? Well, first we want to know, what do you want to use your body for? Um, and then what's currently happening in your body? Is there anything keeping you from getting there?
Mm-hmm.
And then physically, we want to see, are there vulnerabilities that exist? Because if there are, we need to address those first, right? Because the worst thing you could do is put strength on top of dysfunction. I hate the word dysfunction. I think that's thrown around a lot by trainers and confuses people. But basically, is there something that's just that you're going to be that you're vulnerable to injury because of the way your body's currently moving? So we want to identify that. We'll give some targeted strategies to address that. And then we always start people off for the most, well, I'd say 90% of the time, with a 4-week trial program, because
Oh,
I think a lot in the industry is, oh, come try a class. But
yeah.
the reason we don't do that, and we have done it, but the reason we prefer to do it this way is, I'm going to ask you to commit a little bit too, because our guarantee has nothing to do with the aesthetics. I mean, you're going to feel better, right? You're going to
Right.
move better, and you're going to feeling better. You may not feel better in the moment, right? We both know as you get through this transition, there are times it's not going to feel better, but you are moving better and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to get better. So we want people to experience that, because over 4 weeks, you're going to have enough interactions with the coaches. You're going to have enough exposure to the program. You're going to have homework routines we give you. You're going to have all the things you need. Number one, to see, is this the place for me? And that's important for us too. We're a very community driven place.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight's 25th anniversary. We have clients that have been here the entire 25 years. And even before that,
Wow.
I was taking one of our small groups last night, and one of the clients is the wife of someone who used to be in Brian's Cassidy camp when he was a high school athlete. And as she's in my small group, over in our athletic group is their son. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of cool, this
Yeah, that's amazing. 25 years is
generational.
incredible. Same
Yeah.
facility,
What's that?
same facility.
Same facility. Yeah. So we're over
Wow.
on this side of the facility doing our small group. They're over there on the turf doing the athlete stuff.
Yeah.
Mary's in the room back here doing physical therapy. We've got an advanced client or two in the room.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun environment, man, because it's just so different. I mean, you walk in, you're kind of like, what? Where's all the equipment? What did I just walk into?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool to be able to celebrate that anniversary. And I'm sure like clients will bring their spouses and all that fun stuff
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah. I think when I look, we've got with staff like 200 people. So,
Wow. That's amazing.
and it'd be a cool night for Arizona. I think it's going to be 80 something, but for here in the gym, that's going to be pretty warm. So it's exciting though.
Yeah, well, any final thoughts on your end for people coming in? I mean, maybe too, like you shared the first 4 weeks, typically when people are ready past that, like what's their path, 3, 6, and 12 months down the road?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. It really gets back to we talked about in the GPS and that game planning session. What is your goal? And really ask, that why question of digging into it. Because I think the biggest one we know the cop out is I want to lose 30 pounds. Well, okay, but what do you want to do after you've done that? What do you
Yeah.
want to do with your body? There's something you want to do. So continuing to point clients back to that, because the way we train too, we're depending on where your starting point is, right? There's a lot of transformation that has to happen in your body. There's a lot of things we're trying to address. We talked about vulnerability. We're trying to get you to where you're doing those things. So it might be 6, 8 weeks before you don't feel that knee pain. I mean, a lot of times it's much quicker than that, but we'll see the improvement. Or like, man, my hip's really bugging me now. You're like, oh, awesome. So it moved from your knee to your hip. Great. Like
Yep.
we didn't really talk about this, but our coaches we really view as technicians. I mean, they're all go through and adapt. Every single one of our coaches on staff has gone through our adapt internship program. They
Wow.
go through our own internal certification. And then we have a shadowing process. So there's a whole way to do it. In fact, the director of training, Courtney's been here 15 years. Candace, our director of therapy, has been here, I want to say 19, almost 20 years. So, there's some longevity and with our physical therapy too. That, in a lot of places they might have physical therapy, but it's a PT who's renting space. And then there's the
Sure.
training. In this case, it's all the same. So I mean, my office is upstairs. Our trainers are all right over here outside my door. And then our PT is up there. So you'll always hear these conversations of, hey, Mary, I got this client dealing with this. What do you think? And there's so much collaboration. It's a really cool behind the scenes benefit clients don't see, but is really hard to get
Yeah.
in most places. So, um,
No, that's amazing. And I love the benchmarks of success being like pain improvement, mobility improvement versus when we're typically like at a gym, it's like, lose 10 pounds in 30 days or don't pay and silly stuff like that.
yeah,
And unfortunately for the majority of people, like you said, the weight loss could be good for health, but if their body isn't moving properly or and the dysfunction thing I've found, like people like me and you in the industry get it, but for most folks, it's like they're not dysfunctional. They could use their arm, right? But it's like
yeah,
misfunction that could cause those
right.
injuries, which is the vulnerability you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, like I said, there's certain ways we're a counter industry in ways, and you never want to come across as arrogant or, oh, we're better than you. And
Sure.
that is the fear it can come across that way. But we do look at the body different. I think when you have a different lens you're looking through, you're going to
Mhm.
see the problem a little differently, right? We're going to really drive, how do we get to the root cause, not a symptom? So there's certain things we don't do that the industry kind of finds commonplace, but we'll do it because again, our goal is to get back to that integrity of movement. So the way we're going to train you may look different or be different than what trainer down the street said. It may be different than what your ortho says, right? Because an
Yeah.
orthopedist is going to give you obviously very good data. We work with orthos all the time for referral and to PT, but your
Yeah.
general doctor, et cetera, they're not experts in what we are. And so we find that can be reassuring for clients. And when messaged the right way, really our job is how do we educate you so that you can take care of yourself. And we're just the coach. We're like Sam to your Frodo, right? Like we're the guide on your hero's journey. Like we want to help you get to the ring, get rid of the ring, right? Um, so that's kind of how we view ourselves as coaches. Is that's our job. We're the guide, we're the journey. But once you're a client, you're the client. We're not here to just deliver a workout. We're here to get you a result. So we're going to text you outside a session. We're going to follow up with you. We're going to tweak your program. We're going to give you custom supplemental, quick hits to do at home. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's kind of the approach. And I didn't really answer your question, but it kind of does. So over 3, 6, 12 months, like I said, you got people here for 20 years. Well, they stick around because I think too, number one, they've gotten the results and now they can keep elevating
Hmm.
things that they never thought would even be a goal. And that's why, like, maybe your first goal is I want to be able to walk pain free on my knee. Man, now I can do that. I've always wanted to hike, Mount Hood here, or whatever that goal might be. And you
Right. Go
all this,
skiing. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
right. Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
man, I never thought I'd be able to snowboard again or ski again or whatever that might be. And it's a really fun experience. So when you do that and you combine a community of people that love being around each other and you become their third place, right? You got work, home, and you really want to be the third place. And it's a really cool thing when you see it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing. Well, congrats on the 25-year anniversary, and I'm sure you all have a blast this evening.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be fun. Well, hopefully we're not filming all of it, but
Well, yeah, switching gears, I would love
yeah,
to dive into Adapt Industrial Athletics a bit. I know that's
yeah,
another big division of what you all do, and doing it differently than I think anyone else in the industry. So just give us some background on like how that became about for Adapt, and then the types of companies that you support today.
yeah, yeah. It's a really unique one. I mean, it's funny because our largest client in there is WM or Waste Management. We
Yeah,
brand to WM, but it's funny you
yeah.
talk to Brian. He's like, man, I never thought that one of our bigger profit drivers would be trash. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's a really cool question. I'll go back to the origin. So we got a call from a very, I think, very innovative director of safety for WM in the Northwest region, Jerry Ginter, who had been at UPS for a long time. And I think between UPS and Boeing, they'll argue about who invented the term industrial athletics. But if you think about what UPS, you're in a sorting facility, those guys are moving packages.
Oh man,
I mean, they are
very
athletes.
laborious. Yeah,
And they're
yeah,
not moving like, a dumbbell with fixed weight. They're moving odd shapes, weird
totally
stuff. So,
different
um,
sizes.
yeah, yeah. So he kind of brought this mentality of traditionally in that industry, you hire a ATC or an athletic trainer who's on site or a PT. And it's
Sure.
really
Yeah.
about treatment. All right, I'm there. If somebody gets injured, now I can perform that first medical intervention. And
Hmm.
it's like, I want to move upstream. I want to change the language from injury treatment to prevention. And
Hmm.
so he had just happened to call the front desk. And because he mentioned athletics, he talked to somebody who's a longtime Adapt person who's
Yeah.
not anymore, but uh,
Yeah.
Brian, this is, I don't know, 8 years ago now, and just said, hey, I'm looking for a trainer. So that really launched this over the course of 8 years, what we're able to do with them. But really, the approach, we're not fitness people. I mean, we're talking about, so if you think about our ideal client, a lot of this is in warehouses. That's where you'll see a lot of the traditional model I was talking about. But if you look at the construction industry and the different segments of construction industry, it's one of the highest opioid addiction rates, one of the highest suicide rates, because when you're in pain, life sucks.
Oh yeah.
Excuse
Oh yeah.
me. Um, so when we looked at what skill set can we bring to the table, it's really when you look at everything we've done for 25 years, it's like we bring the exact skill set you need because
Yeah.
everything we
Absolutely.
do is about optimizing performance and preventing injury.
Yeah.
And so it was a really cool as we started thinking through, and it's a cool story. I know it's a little long, and I think clients in that space would appreciate, maybe other people wouldn't, but
Yeah.
most training sessions, are probably 45 to 50 minutes, right? You have an hour slot, you got warm up, cool, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we shrunk this down. We got to a 15-minute, like we're like, man, this is awesome. We're able to get this into 15 minutes. Went back to Jerry. And mind you, he's got Northwest region. They have 1,000 drivers in the Northwest.
Yeah.
They have a very scripted launch process. So like 4 a.m., right? Their drivers come in, they have a huddle launch process. They have a very specific time. They have a whole check-in procedure,
Oh yeah.
procedure on their trucks. So he's like, well, that's really cool, man. 15 minutes. That's impressive. What can you do in 3 minutes? And we're like, wait, what? Could you imagine? I mean, taking your training session, your 15-minute training plan that we've all built on our pads and is very
Yeah.
precise.
Forever on it. Yep.
You're like, okay, well, and what it did, it made us think differently because as a trainer, you're always
Right.
looking for how do I optimize performance. And we
Hmm.
switched and said, okay, really what we're trying to do is just eliminate the catastrophic. Like there's not a whole lot of improvement we're going to make in that 3 minutes, but we're going to bring awareness because
Yeah.
it's 3 or 4 movements every morning. In fact, we have Katie was out at 2 a.m. this morning in Portland at one of their sites, and we
Yeah.
lead them through the warm up. And so much of that is the cueing. Hey, all right, we're just going to do simple stuff as a general fitness or even a fitness client.
Yeah.
It's stuff you don't think about when you're a physical laborer who's paid to use your body and you're in pain and you just, right. These are some good old boys and girls, right? I mean, but, you're just taught to you just deal with it. You just rub some salt on it and keep going.
Totally.
So we're trying to bring them an awareness, right? So when you're doing this particular movement, hey, if you're doing this and you feel this in your knee, that's the red light on your dash going off saying something's not quite right. And that really resonates with them. In fact, like I said, we don't call ourselves trainers. We're like, hey, we're mechanics for the human body. We are
Yeah.
not trainers here. We're just like you have a preventive maintenance schedule on that truck. You have one on your body. We know what's happening. We know how to prevent it. We know where it's going to fail. So if your red light's going off, you're not just going to drive out onto your route and go, well, hey, I hope today's the day not the brakes don't go out. So it's been a really, really rewarding um, addition to what we do and such a great extension of it. I don't think people are viewing it the way we do. I think we bring a very unique perspective. And the cool part of it, there's a very awesome quality of life benefit for the worker.
Oh,
In
yeah.
fact, Jerry, the cool thing about Jerry, I mean, he's a director of safety. Obviously, he's driven by metrics and KPIs and all the things that you have to
Yeah.
be in that world with OSHA
Yeah.
and injuries and all that. But his most proud thing is when guys come back or the employees come back and say, hey, man, I was able to pack out my meat on a hunt for the first time in 15 years, or I was able to coach my kids' softball team and, I had no pain or whatever that might be. So it's a lot of fun to see that and beyond for him, beyond that thing. And then the flip side of that, there's a very, very real cost benefit to the company, right? I mean, you're talking about
Absolutely.
a workers' comp. If you can avoid a workers' comp claim, avoid an injury claim, I mean, you're it's a 10x return on that investment. So I could go off forever on that, but it's just a really fun way. And we're looking at different ways of changing it and scaling it. So we just launched a remote hotline support model with them, which is
Mhm.
anybody in the region, we have a dedicated phone number they can call. We have somebody dedicated to work with them, and he'll kind of walk through a diagnostic, if you will. But I mean, we can't technically call it that. He'll ask you some questions, let's say, and
Yeah. Yeah.
understand and basically
An assessment.
go through our flow chart. Well, hey man, you've got a bone sticking out of your thigh. Probably, lunges aren't going to do a whole lot. Let's get you to let me refer you back in. But it might be, hey, my elbow's been bugging me quite a bit the last bit. So we'll give them targeted routines and then we'll
Nice.
put them over time. So we're looking at different ways to innovate in that market as well. How can we help more people? How can we make that investment um, formula more attractive? Because a lot of times you get into the financial side of it, and it still is an expense versus the investment that we all know it is. So, but it's been a lot of fun, man. We're really excited to keep growing that side of the business and evolving it and continuing to take what we learn in the gym almost as a lab. How do we apply that into that world?
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that you all are doing that work. And I think too, there's so much customization involved with different job functions. And I know you all care about
Yeah.
that in the process. So I just think
Yeah.
it's such good work you're doing.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I think because you'd asked me that before we got on the call, but about kind of what do we do in the beginning. So, and I'll just keep using waste management. It's the most interesting. I think it's the most diverse, if you will, of that population we work with because they have drivers that drive residential trucks that are in their truck all day. And then they have certain routes that they still have to get out and load the cans. But then they also have the landfills. So
Mhm.
they'll be in trucks sitting on top of that. And you think about this guy's on this truck with these massive metal cylinder wheels, but looking back over his shoulder, riding over the stuff, you might hit, something that you can't see under the trash. And so just the amount of torque happening in their body.
Mhm.
So what we do, we go in and we observe. So we do a ride along. If we're going to go out, we have a new trainer. We're going to put them on a ride along with one of them. They're going to see what does this person do all day. So we
Yeah.
understand how are you using your body. Um, and so we went out to Arlington, the landfill, but it's also one of the largest commercial or largest private rail yards on the West Coast. So all the trash from the Northwest comes into this facility. So you got people loading and unloading, tarping and detarping. So even within that environment, there's probably 8 different job types that require a little bit different view of what can I give you really quick before your shift? Or man, you know what? You're going to fatigue pretty good on your shift because you're constantly moving. So how do I reset you during so you're not carrying all this accumulated fatigue and potential injury? And then what do you need to do after? Hey, here's 3 moves. You're already getting out of your truck and stretching. Just let me tell you what to do so you're more productive with that time.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how we view that. And the really cool thing is when we can take so now we've mapped the job types, right? Okay, we kind of know what's happening with your body in these. We know where to kind of where is it optimal to inject that? Is it before the shift, during shift, after shift? Obviously, ideally all of them. But
Yeah.
then also now if I overlay and look at your body specifically and take you through a vulnerability test, for instance, one of our clients was Viking sprinklers, all the overhead commercial sprinklers in the buildings. So you
Yeah.
can imagine that job, they're on a ladder,
Wow.
holding
Yep.
clamps up to 200 pounds, wrenching. So the demand on that body is pretty specific. But now if I take you through a vulnerability test and you can't even achieve base level rotation, we already know you're an injury waiting to happen. So it's
Mhm.
really cool. We can layer those two across both for the employee and the company. Say, hey, here's a risk profile, and here's some programming to do to get them job hardened for that specific role, or switch them to a different role. So it's really fun when you can blend those two and have that level of conversation with the safety manager or the people kind of in the shop or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And for people that are in the leadership roles of, safety director
Yeah.
and or facilities, what would be a good way for them to connect with you all on those types of programs?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we have the website, industrial.adapttraining.com, which is specific to industrial athletics. Adapttraining.com is everything else. But obviously those two are so different. We want when you go there, you're gonna, oh, okay, that's what we're looking for. We talk about keeping your workplace athletes in the game because we also work with tactical athletes, fire departments. Obviously, the stakes are a little higher on those guys. If
Absolutely.
your
Yeah.
body fails on a call, that's property damage or lives.
Hmm.
So that's another very cool um, thing we do. But if you go to the website, that'll have more info. I mean, you can just email for now, just email me directly, Jeff@adapttraining.com. A lot of how we'll start is just a conversation. I want to hear about what you're doing and how can we potentially help see if it's the right fit.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for sharing and congrats on your anniversary. I know y'all will have fun just connecting with everybody and not having to put them through a workout, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, who knows? I'm sure. Well, it's funny because Brian's got it really is cool. He's kind of building it. He used to do when we did our athlete camps, it was called a Cassidy camp. And I mean, we'd go out to like the vineyards and people would just remember puking in the running up the hills in the vineyards and just puking and just all the great things. So we won't be doing that at the camp, but I mean, we'd have 70, 80 athletes. So he's got certain things he used to do in camp in terms of some of the games that we can obviously do with the population, but it'll be a lot of fun, man. It'll
Cool.
be
Cool.
more informal, reconnecting and just celebrating 25 years of community and, building something that's enduring. And, my job is now to take that the next 25 years and continue to impact more and more people. So it's fun, man. I love getting to hop on and chat with you and appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, absolutely.